Welcome to Astro Love Painter. This is NahSeh. I am an evolutionary astrologer, a shamanic astrologer, and if it's your first time, welcome. Subscribe so you can keep up to date. If you haven't visited the Shamanic Mysticism series, please do so. It is the personal journey that I'm going through, leading up to this solar eclipse in Leo, August 21st. So today, we're going to be looking at the chart for the Aquarian full moon on Monday, the 7th. That's at 11:10 a.m. Eastern or Pacific Standard Time. And this is going to be quite a powerful full moon because it is showcased inside of a yod and a partial lunar eclipse. This is a yod. These green lines are the 150-degree aspect, which is called a quincunx. And that is happening with these two planets. These are called the foot or fulcrum. And to be a proper yod, the two fulcrums need to be slower moving planets. And it is a rare aspect because with these two slower moving planets in a sextile, which is 60 degrees, you have then a faster moving planet which happens to kind of be caught. And this is also called the finger of fate or finger of God. And I know for a fact that one of my viewers will be interested in this aspect as he has a yod in his chart. A yod is the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and in Kabbalah and numerology, it is a symbol of endings and completed cycles. The attention on the internet has been around that whole Leo solar eclipse on August 21st, which is about beginnings because it's a new moon. So the media diversion has worked among the masses and has successfully appealed to the doomsayers. So let's do a quick review of this shamanic journey beginning with the Capricorn full moon on July 9th. That full moon was conjunct Pluto and opposed Mars, conjunct the Sun in Cancer. So the Sun and Mars have moved out of Cancer, but they are still conjunct, and we're waiting for there to be a bit more space, which is going to happen by mid-August, in about a week and a half. We will have a break from that energy. So it brought up some very deep subconscious aspects of anger, resentments, and fears that needed to be uprooted. That's what Pluto and Capricorn does. A wonderful saying I've learned is that expectations are just premeditated resentments, and this was an overhaul of our emotional maturity on that full moon. Hence why I began the Shamanic Mysticism series, which I will continue to do. Then we had that first of the two Leo new moons on July 23rd, which was the reprieve from the full moon on the 9th. And it wasn't as eventful. It felt more like that exhausted nap after a good long cry. It was still conjunct Mars, and at that time it was squaring Uranus. So, you know, as you can see, it has moved out of the aspect. Here it would have been square at 90 degrees, so we've moved out. And I found it to be quite supportive. And then Uranus is doing another supportive aspect here, trining Saturn, but we'll get to that. Oh, that new moon brought up a beautiful fire trine in the chart and an iron butterfly. It showed that the universe supported us while we shored up our determination and resiliency to prepare for that total release of blockage on this Aquarian full moon. So the yod right here is an aspect that is created by a minimum of 3 planets. See, here we have 4. You know, this could actually be happening in a stellium. Then we have the surprise 5th element here. And that's even more rare. So that happens when, as I said before, the action planet is placed 150 degrees from the other 2. The 2 fulcrum planets are 60 degrees from one another. The sextiling or 60-degree planets are creating a harmonious energy that builds and matures over life. See, it does this. So if this were in a personal natal chart, this is something that over a lifetime would have to build and mature. It's like a laser beam. The energy builds in here like this, bounces back and forth, because 150-degree angle is very uncomfortable. As Rick Levine would put it, it is like something in your peripheral, and you know it's there. If I were on camera right now, I could show you. It's pretty funny. It's like having your elbow extended out at a 90-degree, parallel to your body. And if you look straight ahead, you can see, like out of, if it's your right arm, you can see your fingers wiggling in the right hand side, but every time you turn, the arm will move because it's locked in place. So it's always there, and you can't quite get a hold of it. It's just this irritation. And depending on what planet is there, for this one being the Sol conjunct, or the Sun conjunct Mars, it is like your soul expression. What needs to come out is it's irritated by this deep desire to tear things down, to rebuild, and then also in this irritating, like, itch you can't scratch, this Neptunian, it would be like confusion, not knowing your direction, not knowing how you're supposed to express through the Leo, which would be in the lower frequency expression, very prideful, very egoic. And then over time, as this person learns from their mistakes of, okay, that was a bit much, I'm being a little too loud, they will learn to soften and fine-tune and take all of the higher expressions of these aspects. And it will then turn into this laser beam. So the Yod is quite rare. And it's even more rare when we have an actual planet placed on the midpoint. So this is the case with our full moon in Aquarius. And instead of the release moving through the action planet this way, it acts as a boomerang and it manifests through this midpoint instead. So the Yod sits dormant in a natal chart until it is activated at either the action or midpoint planet. So we would be, if this were a natal chart, which it's not, it's just, you know, picture of the sky, that's going to happen at 11:10 a.m. August 7th. But if this were a natal chart, these are the things that you started life with. These are the DNA imprints. And we would have a transit come along of, say, Venus. And when it gets to 15 degrees, actually about, since it's a fast moving planet we're talking about, when it gets to between 12 and 13 degrees, it would activate this. And another activation, another activation point is 15 degrees here. Even if there wasn't a planet, it would still be an activation point. But since we have a planet here, that's what makes this even more exciting. So this Yod is already activated. And it's most fascinating to me that it is sitting inside of a supportive mystic rectangle. So these 2 fulcrums are a part of the sextile inside of this mystic rectangle, for trines and sextiles, and then they have oppositions right here. Okay, I only get 10 minutes on this recording software at a time, so I'm going to backtrack a tiny bit. Pardon me if it overlaps. Alright, so this Yod is sitting inside of a mystic rectangle, which the fulcrum planets Pluto and Neptune are part of in their sextile. And then we've got the trine here, sextile here, trine, and then there are these oppositions, these red lines. Those are at 180 degrees. So during that last full moon in Capricorn, we were dealing with these explosive and volatile emotions because it was conjunct Pluto. So last month we had the moon here, right? And then we had the sun here in Cancer for the full moon. You see that pattern, how it just kind of ticks around? So I'll make a video at some point about manifestation and how we are using the moon, and farmers use it in the almanac. So this full moon, Pluto turns into a very supportive force because it's at a neutral position. See, it's not even making an aspect. It's 60 or 30 degrees apart. It's 60 to Neptune, but 30 to the moon. No aspect is good most of the time. So the expression now of the Sun conjunct Mars, of what we dealt with on that full moon, bounces back into the Aquarian moon, because this is called a boomerang Yod. So all the energy goes forward, but instead of expressing this way, it comes back here. And this is a very detached moon. The emotional expression is detached. And Neptune sextile Pluto is tapping into the collective consciousness and dissolving old patterns. So this first may present as escapism, fear, control, obsession, even because we have this opposition between Pluto and Venus in the T-square with Jupiter. But, and much like all that fear-mongering on those YouTube videos about the coming solar eclipse on August 21st. So as the energy matures and the path narrows, many of those old Piscean age habits will dissolve, such as the old patriarchy. You can very much tie this into the presidency here in the Americas. The moon in Aquarius is no coincidence, for it is not directing us towards a more liberal society, but a balancing one. Aquarius is the sign of the water bearer, even though it's an air sign, and it's temperance. So it is the mixing together of two elements. It is detached, unconditional love. It is androgynous. It is preparation for the I am presence. Now, this mystic rectangle that we have is tapping into this collective consciousness with Neptune sextile Pluto. Then Neptune in Pisces trines the Venus in Cancer, which is a harmonious flow of spirituality and its heightened transcendent love. Venus in Cancer loves very deeply, and it is quite vulnerable of being hurt. So it's being exposed by, or being opposed by then Pluto in Capricorn, which wants to bring up the dross out of the fiery depths of hell. Because, you know, Pluto is also associated with Scorpio and going deep. So it is imperative to lean on that detached Aquarian moon to feel safe during this karmic surgery. Mercury is loving being in Virgo right now before it retrogrades. And it's in a supportive sextile then to Venus, which helps to nurture an environment of security. Mercury in Virgo mirrors the Aquarian moon in its detached analytical tact, and it'll bring a sense of integrity to the table. It is service-oriented as well as detail-oriented, and it makes the perfect surgeon. So then there's the Mercury trine Pluto, which gets to the root of the problem and unearths any secrets or undercurrents that were previously running. It does so in a very magnetic and soothing way, especially with Mercury opposed Neptune. But this can also bring out some confusion and some flighty energy that prefers to only operate on intuition and inspiration. So this energy is very well directed inside the mystic rectangle. So a little information about what a mystic rectangle is. So despite the word mystic, it's just a combination of these tense aspects and then the harmonious aspects, these blue lines around the 6,000 trines. So that produces the best possible potential for the constructive use of natural talents. And remember, this is like the Capricorn full moon was like, it was the explosion. Then the Leo new moon was the just like taking a breath, like the crying, the oh my goodness, now what? And now we're headed into time to put things together. And something that I got off of the Linda Goodman blog site is this configuration includes 2 trines, 2 sextiles, and 2 oppositions. The pattern formed by the mystic rectangle can be defined as a cut diamond. The faces of the diamond can only be appreciated in the light. Individuals with this configuration will truly be seekers of light. And in astrology, we have 2 lights which are called the luminaries, the sun, the day, and the moon, the night light. The conflict originating between these complementary and yet different energies will present the individual with this configuration in the natal theme with a great dilemma. The negotiation between a need to shine and to be admired and a truly sunny expression and a need for retreat and contemplation, indicated by the lunar energy. And our lunar energy is the Aquarian, detached. Out of this negotiation, sometime we may encounter a person of great direction in our life or someone that will only manifest one facet of this polarity. I have this in my chart, and I will be doing some tutorials using my chart to give an explanation of each of these kinds of configurations. So let me see. I don't want to read this whole thing because I've already said most of this. Oh, what I did find very, very interesting is that this mystic rectangle is mystic rectangles in general will always be the same polarity, either masculine, which is air and fire, or feminine, earth and water. And ours is of the feminine polarity. See, it's earth, water, but the yod is all 4 elements. We have Leo, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and these are fixed elements here, fixed signs, meaning very stubborn, stuck in their way. They're very stable. And then you have a cardinal energy here, which is a trailblazing, and then you have a mutable. So there's a lot going on. Now, this quincunx here of the Sun and Neptune is a karmic rebalancing of what's called the hero's journey, from victimhood to victor. This is a hint of reincarnation in this aspect. And the quincunx of Pluto to the Sun is also karmic rebalancing of someone who is fully aware of their reincarnated state while everybody around them sleeps. So this aspect is one of very purposefully directed action to keep on course. All of that spiritually karmic and deeply 8th house intensity then becomes transmuted through the Aquarian emotion. An Aquarius moon is quite happy to literally float above the human interaction and connects at a level of Uranian energy. It is through receiving information and downloads through the crown chakra that delivers a Cupid's arrow straight down into the heart. I get this. to the empaths out there, be ready. I mean, already if you're an Aquarian, you're aware that you are. So this is not to we're not coming to the end of the world. I don't believe Donald Trump is going to be assassinated. I believe that an attempt might happen, or an impeachment might happen. Something huge is going to happen on that August 21st moon. But if your eyes are directed outside of yourself and constantly looking at the news and what's happening in other people's lives, you're still going to go through this transformation, but without awareness, it will be a bumpy ride. Fight it all you want, but Saturn and Saturn's lessons will be implemented. So ride the wave, reap the benefits, be aware, or you may become one of those people who is angry with life and is too busy picking out other people's faults, and you're just going to miss the whole point of being incarnated here. So, anywho, it's through receiving these downloads through the crown chakra that will actually open the heart. So the empaths are going to be called upon to transmute this past karma of the nation in preparation for the Leo solar eclipse. It will not be violent or turbulent, but it's more of a surgical energy as you watch the scenes play out and move by. Do not attach any specific desire or outcome to any news story that you watch or any particular activity. Stay detached, because our attention to the negative will just perpetuate that story. So Uranus rules this moon because it's in Aquarius. And Uranus just retrograded on the 2nd. So now it's in a trine to Saturn, which is our patriarch archetype, the archetype of responsibility, reality, restrictions, limitations. And it doesn't need to be in a negative way. Like, your skin is a limitation. It's what keeps everything in. You need it. You need structure. Gravity is part of that structure. If we didn't have gravity, we would all float out to outer space. People do that all by themselves anyway, but I'm talking on the physical realm. Saturn is not bad. Saturn gets such a bad rap. Saturn brings gifts. That's where Santa Claus comes from. Do some research on your own and find that out. Now, Uranus is the innovator, the mad scientist. It brings abrupt changes of direction, shakes things up. It's a lightning bolt, like in the tarot, the tower card in the tarot. Saturn is that tower, and then the lightning striking is Uranus. It is all things detested by Saturn. So this is the dust settling and the community coming together to clean up the debris after a monsoon. Order coming out of chaos. The upheaval came from the Pluto square Uranus, which in my opinion started lifting in April of 2016. This aspect is stability being set into motion. All of this evolution occurs with or without our help or awareness. But when we are able to face our own shadows and embrace them, we are freed. Namaste.